Use a ruler to measure out a 2-inch square at the bottom of each corner. Here I'm using a Friction pen in order to create my marking. With some scissors, cut out each of those squares. Separate your lining piece and your outer piece, and then put the sides back together. We're going to take this over to the sewing machine, backstitching at the start and end of each of these sides, including the bottom. This part is sped up in time, so don't worry, I don't usually sew this fast. Be safe. Here you see me do the same thing with the bottom edge, even though it's a folded piece, and that is because we want each of the sides to be the same length when we box the corners. Here we're going to box the corners by pulling out the sides and matching the edges of our cutout square. It sounds really complicated, but it's actually quite simple. I always make sure to clip one end of it so that it stays in place. You're also going to backstitch at the start and end here. We'll do the same thing at the other end of this box corner. I'm just making sure that the seam is lying in the same direction so that it's nice and flat. After this, we're going to do this with the outside piece as well. Again, don't worry, this is all sped up for time. You'll see here how our sewing made these box corners. Isn't that cool? I haven't turned out the outside piece, but I have done that with the lining piece. And this is so that we can place right sides together before we sew them together. We're going to make sure that our seams are lined up from each piece before we start pinning everything into place. I love to use pins in order to mark where my opening is going to be and wonder clips around the rest of it. Using just the arm of our sewing machine, we're going to backstitch where our first pin is in order to make sure there's locked stitches and go all the way around until we reach the next pin where we'll backstitch again, making sure that we have an opening left. Finally, we'll turn our project right sides out through the hole that we left. Ta-da! Roll all those seams up until finally taking it over to the ironing board and pressing it.